that mountain is only inside the tree. It is considered the highest mountain in Bhutan. And you can here we will see
Yeah,
what do you
to the end.
all mountains are about
Perhaps myself and Professor Galow might be addressing the least number of audience, but nevertheless I'm highly gratified that our small gathering is being added more glory by the presence of Education Secretary. We have the Secretary General of the National Assembly of Bhutan. So to start with, it's very sad Dr. Karmura couldn't make up for this talk, despite great willingness he always had to gain wisdom from eminent persons as Professor Galow. So he expressed his regrets to the audience and to the guest speaker, Professor Galow. To give a brief about Professor Galow. Professor Galow is the founder of Meyer-Galow Foundation for Sustainable Chemistry, and a member and sponsor of Pro-Bhutan Germany since 1996. He has to his credit honors as Cross of the Order of the Merit of the Federal Republic of Germany. So for this gathering, Professor will be talking on management by the golden wind, mastering the challenge of the paradigm shift. Having said that, we have the least number of audience to be addressing. I'm of firm conviction that this lecture by Professor Galow will be as enlightening as has always been, with such events we have always organized. And our dignitaries won't regret taking a bit of your time from your office. So with this, may I now invite Professor Galow.
Thank you very much, Mr. Punzo, for your welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure for me to be here. I thank you very much for your decision to listen to my lecture. And the issue is the golden wind management, how I call that. And I want to build a bridge, like in Punakha, from the golden wind management, how I would like to see it in the Western world to come, and your gross national happiness program. So this is the issue of the paper, to build this bridge. I'm glad to be here again. The last time I was in Bhutan was 1999, when my dear friend Harald married Angelika with a nice ceremony. And I visited, of course, the Punakha hospital during these times. I was highly appreciating what Pro-Bhutan was doing here. And I remember, Harald, we met 20 years ago in Kuala Lumpur, where Harald was the German ambassador. And I was CEO of a large German company. And he was talking at the dinner and after the dinner so much about Bhutan. And I was so interested and fascinated what he told me. And from this time on, I was member of the organization, what is now called Pro-Bhutan. It has a different name in the beginning. And I'm one of the donors and sponsors. I highly appreciate that. And during my visit here, I'm so happy to see what has been done, what Pro-Bhutan has been done for your country, and especially tomorrow, when we have the opening ceremony for the School of Hearing Impaired Children. I highly appreciate to do something for these handicapped children. It's coming from my heart. So that was when it started, 20 years ago. As a member of Pro-Bhutan, I think it's not bad that today is your International Volunteer Day. I heard that said in the newspaper. So I'm one of the volunteers, of the international volunteers, and to have a presentation on that day, that's happiness. It's great. I like to be here. And I very much appreciate that you mentioned in your G&H guide that volunteering and donation of time and money be recognized as a fundamental part of any community development. I agree, I completely agree. We lost that in the Western world as well, so we have to work on that. During all my years here, I followed your program with great admiration, Cross-National Happiness. Germany, and I know Germany very well, is mad about happiness. Everybody wants to be happy. We had recently, 2 weeks ago, the whole week, happiness as an issue of the largest German television program. Books for happiness are bestsellers, and seminars and all that. They are all looking for happiness. But most of them who talk don't know what it is. There are so many definitions of happiness, especially if you talk in English, and you talk about the happiness what the Americans mean. But that's completely different, and you know that, and you have written the differences in your guide. And you have mentioned in your Salzburg speech the difference, and you were calling for harmony, maybe, another word. So I highly appreciate that I have the opportunity to talk to you. I will not talk too much about your program, because you are the experts of the Cross-National Happiness Program. I will talk more about the Golden Wind, where I am the expert, and how to manage to achieve this experience for an individual. Because from an individual, it can spread all over to more individuals, to groups, maybe to a country. That's my idea. I call it Golden Wind Management. You manage yourself, and by managing yourself in the spirit of the Golden Wind, you manage others and make them follow you, experiencing the Golden Wind. This experience may lead to happiness for everybody. In a way, you know that here in Bhutan, and you can understand what I talk to you. And it's happening very often when I talk to Germans about this issue, they don't understand me. So it's difficult to explain. I'm always on the way to explain something with what you cannot explain with words. Spiritual experience you cannot explain with words. To make it clear, with the Zen talk, if somebody is asking you how tea tastes, you cannot explain. You must drink it. Happiness, you must experience it. That's the difference. Before I go into my concept of the Golden Wind, I would like to mention just some important points of your G&H, to which I refer later, and which may be new for Western people who read my manuscript or listening to my YouTube, to make them understand what you mean. And I based my remarks to the quotations on your short guide to G&H Index dated 2012. Quote, in the G&H Index, unlike certain concepts of happiness in current Western literature, happiness is itself multidimensional, not measured only by subjective well-being, and not focused narrowly on happiness that begins and ends with oneself, and is concerned for and with oneself. The pursuit of happiness is collective, though it can be experienced deeply personally. Gross-national happiness measures the quality of a country in a more holistic way than the gross-national product, and believes that the beneficial development of human society takes place when material and spiritual development occurs side by side in a balance. This is, I think, this is a key message. Further quote of a opening address from Joachim Chikmi-Tinley in 1929, when he said, "We have now clearly distinguished the happiness in G&H between fleeting, pleasurable, feel-good moods, so often associated with that term. We know that true abiding happiness cannot exist while others are suffering, and comes only from serving others, living in harmony with nature and realizing our inner wisdom and the true and brilliant nature of minds." Further quote, it includes harmony, there comes your harmony. It includes harmony with nature, again absent from Western notions of happiness, and concern for others. The brilliant nature he alluded to consists of the various types of extraordinary sensitive and advanced awareness with which human beings are endowed and can be realized. End of the quotes. Of course, I know that all your people here are not happy 100%. But I see that with respect, that your government is taking care of the G&H and have in mind to make more people happy in your country. And this is unique. The people in the Western countries, and now I come to the West and I know the West better, the people in the Western countries are emotionally, psychologically and spiritually suffering, not materialistically. It's going down, maybe it's going down. It's going down in South Europe as well already. It may go down the standard of living in Germany as well. But so far we want to grow more and more, and the more we grow, the more we are becoming ill. And now the wealth is going down, and therefore we are even suffering more. Psychological diseases like depression, anxiety, burnout and so on are growing double-digit per year in our area. Double-digit. For me, burnout, a very popular word, burnout, it's all over in the newspapers. Plenty of people have burnout. And it's always the others to blame. For me, for my spiritual background, burnout is the implosion of the ego in an ego-centered life. When the pressure from outside is increasing, which is now happening, and it's imploding inside, and if inside nothing has grown in your life, then you get a burnout. And that's much different to a definition of burnout, which is in all the newspapers, where it said, okay, if you work less, if you're eating better, if you make a little bit yoga, if you're on vacation, the burnout is gone, and you continue to work. That is a terrible message. It doesn't work. We must work inside to grow, to survive the outside. And furthermore, the usage of psychopharmaceutical drugs is growing double-digit. We landed in a dead-end street with our own growth orientation. We need urgently a change. But should we change? But which change? How to change? Important question if you talk to people in Europe or in the US. And therefore the West is looking to the East, to Bhutan. You feel that, you talk to people. They have no answer, so they look to a country where gross national happiness is a program. We and they try to understand your program. But by far the majority of our politicians and governments included will not understand your concept, and therefore will not discover the need and opportunities to implement your concept in our world. They don't understand the healing power of G&H. It's an illusion that the West can easily take over your program, even if they say they cannot. For the West, it's nice to have, but I think it must be must to have. It's a must program. It's not a nice to have program. Why? Because the urgently needed balance between materialistic and spiritual orientation is so out of order in the Western world since centuries that our ego-centered mind and behavior dominate day by day. Why? Where does it come from? The famous French philosopher René Descartes says, cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. From this time on, we are guided by our mind, by thinking. And we achieved a lot of progress in science, in technology, and so on by thinking. It's great. I would not blame that, but it was an I-centered view. This has been at the expense of progress on humanistic, intrinsic values. Fortunately, in the G&H you have a human-centered, holistic approach. And that's what I like. What will be the ultimate outcome of the collapse of our materialistic world? What will become when our most admirable human qualities are perceived as precursors of failure? And there's another urgent need for change. John Steinbeck, the famous American author, is still, I think, very right. Quote, "It has always seemed strange to me the things we admire in man, like kindness and generosity, openness, honesty, understanding, feeling, are the concomitants of failure in our system. And those traits we detest, like sharpness, greed, acquisitiveness, meanness, egoism, self-interest, are the traits of success. And while men admire the quality of the first, they love the product of the second." It's still true. I think that's almost 50 years ago when he wrote that. In times of excessive economic growth, most individuals are similarly focusing upon their external well-being, diminishing their possibility of internal growth. It is difficult to convince people still today that external growth cannot represent the real meaning of life. It's just one part. The harm resulting from this one-sided mindset may be ignored, but the consequences are real already. We can see the consequences. They include loneliness, depression, selfishness, suicide, just to name a few. I believe that in the Western industrialized countries, the golden years are over. We feel that. We can have a look where the golden years are over. They are a thing of the past in our memory. My generation has benefited, but our children, and I talk with my children about these issues, our children have to accept a lower material standard of living. And they say, what now? It's very interesting if you talk to young people in Germany who are graduated from the university and where they are looking for a job. It's very new, and we call them the Y generation. This 30% of the graduates are belonging to this Y generation. They say, working is one thing, but have time enough for myself, for sports, for the family, for the children, for the hobbies, for meditation, for my spiritual goals, at the other side. And I'm looking for a company where I can live both, and where there is a balance. And this is so new for the companies and the employers that they are shocked. They want to hire egoistic people who want to have a career, and they can be manipulated with promotion and money like in the past. It's over. I talked to many young people. I was talking at Cologne at the beginning of this year at a conference, World Business Council, where people from the whole world were listening about this issue. What has changed? And they're understanding what I mean. But many of the companies, they don't understand. They believe that stress, burnout, depression is lower if you cut off your iPhone or your emails at 5 o'clock p.m. That's happening, but that's all. That is not really the problem. If you like your work, you can have your iPhone 24 hours online, right? No problem. If you don't like your job, you want to cut it off at 5. And if your boss said, please don't cut it at 5, you don't like it, you have stress. So it's very easy to understand if somebody talking to you, whether he likes his job or whether he doesn't like his job. That's very tricky. So it's a question for the future of our children. In Germany in 2007, only 40% are working. The rest is not working. They live from transfer money transfers. The workforce, the population of the workforce, in 2010, and 60 million Germans were over 65. So we are working less, and we are getting older. That cannot work at a long time. People will increasingly need to explore new opportunities, find new directions, to work on a new mindset, one which will serve them better for the rest of their lives. Recognition of the importance of the inner growth. I call it the golden wind. I explain later why I call it the golden build. A very famous philosopher said, he was a religious philosopher, the man of the future will be a mystic, or he will no longer exist. This is the direction. But who knows what a mystic is or who a mystic is? You understand me from the Buddhism point of view. We lost our mystic consciousness, although we have a history which can teach us even today. Master Erhard was living in the 13th century. He was a Christian mystic. We have all the background. 60% of our churches are empty. More than 60% of our churches are closed in the meantime and transferred into, either they are broken down or they are transferred into homes for elderly people, which is great. I'm just now running a project with my wife to transfer a large church in my hometown into a music center for classical music. And my message is, if the people don't listen to the priest, I hope they will listen to the music. Because it's the same. It comes from the same source, from the divine inner source. But I talk about music later. We are running this project for 4 years. It's very successful. But we have a concert, it's full, completely full, booked out. One favorite psychologist, Carl Gustav Jung, the Swiss gentleman, the founder of deep psychology, said, I never had any patient with a psychological disease where I not detected after careful analysis that the reason for all problems is the interruption of his connection to the numinous. That's God, that's the divine principle. Or you may say emptiness in Buddhism. He never found one with deep problems. When that at the end was, the reason was because he was cutting his connection to the divine principle. This was a very famous psychologist. Therefore, by far the majority in our world don't see the need for daily exercise like prayer, meditation, contemplation, and so on. They don't see it. You and me, we have made our own experiences in daily exercise. And these exercises daily are the condition for any spiritual way. If you don't do that, you don't get inner growth progress. Let me add here another citation of your G&H guide. Although the term gross national happiness was first coined by the fourth king of Bhutan, the concept has much longer resonance in the kingdom of Bhutan. In 1729, legal code, which dates from the unification of Bhutan, declared that, quote, if the government cannot create happiness for its people, there is no purpose for the government to exist. I like this quote. I like it. What a wonderful message. None of our Western governments would exist. I can say so because I belong to them. We just had elections in Germany. I could not imagine if all politicians could go for the votes with this message. Yeah? Forget about the gross national product, forget about growth of GDP. Gross national happiness is more important, so even if GNP is going down, I go for gross national happiness. Please give me your vote. I cannot imagine that these guys, ladies and guys, would get any votes. Or very little votes. But there is a need, a big need. And they don't understand why. Why is it so important? I am a businessman. I'm not a spiritual leader. I'm a businessman who has gone through a transformation during the last 30 years with inner growth. And I was a manager according to my inner growth, and I did it in the outside world how I feel it inside. And I was very successful in business, much better than the egoists. If you look to the Dow Jones, since 1900, how it fluctuates, it's going like that. And during the last years, we have these fluctuations, very large fluctuations. This never happened before. This is the financial market. And you may say it's called Zeitgeist, the German word. It's the spirit of the time. That these large fluctuations outside, you find as well inside. What outside is or inside. What's above is down. These principles are connected. So we as human beings feel the volatility of these fluctuations inside. The outside reflects the inside. Look to the countries like Tunisia, Egypt, Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, and so on. Collapse of countries, collapse of economies, collapse of companies, collapse of groups. It's this fluctuation which is going on. With your background in Buddhism and the key ideas of G&H, you can easily increase your awareness, your compassion, and insight into the purpose of existence. And this is very important. When I travel here in your country, and I did it the last days, I feel serenity, cheerfulness, humor, and compassion all over. I talk to the people. In our world, we have a lack of these attitudes. When I go through our cities, I feel a lot of frozen faces, unhappiness. When I talk to people, they are shocked that I talk to them. Only as sentient humans can we experience the full meaning of our lives. You can learn to feel the golden wind at every stage in your life, leading to compassionate empowerment. How true? How true? The sage seeks what is within, the fool what is without. Confucius. I do Zen meditation now for 30 years. I have a great teacher, I have other teachers, and Zen meditation is my way and my method. But it's not necessary to do Zen meditation. You can do different ways. My teacher says always there are many hundreds and thousands of ways on the top of the mountain where the wisdom is. I do Zazen. I like it. And my main motivation to write my book, which is in German yet, Living in the Golden Wind, which will be translated into English and shortened and made on the main points more decisively, will be published in January as an ebook. You can download it in January. And my main motivation for writing this book was a remark of my youngest son when he was showing up in my office and said, "Daddy, you have to write a book." I said, "Why?" "Yeah, but you tell so different things, and people are ill. They come to you and they're retired and they don't know what to do. They play golf or travel, I don't know what, but they are unhappy. Write a book." So I've written a book. But he had a different thing in mind. He is an internet guy. He had in mind just front page, 10 guidelines, if you click, $10 for his pocket. I wrote a book of 430 pages, very difficult obviously, and recently I've asked a friend who is knowing very well how the book market is. I said, "What shall I do?" I have sold maybe 1,500 or so far in the last years. And this guy said, "It's very easy," and I tell it everybody who is interested in your issue. Buy the book, cut off one page every day, put it on the refrigerator, and look what is written there, and this message will be with you the whole day. And after 430 days, the book is empty. I thought, I like that. That's a great idea. And then they must buy a second one without cutting off the pages. How's that? Do you like that? That's a good idea. This was my main motivation. Just a remark, so this ebook is called Living in the Golden Wind. It will be an ebook in January. But from today on, you can read the whole manuscript of my speech, where I can only tell you maybe 30–40% because of the time frame, under www.thegoldenwind.net. It's there. More things. I keep it short. Coming to the crisis, we are in a world crisis, obviously. This is not a financial crisis and only, it's a spiritual, it's a crisis of us. And many people don't know, they believe it's a financial crisis, it's an economical crisis, it will be better in the future. But we make the same mistakes. We try to solve our problems with the rules of the past. People are stubborn. It takes a huge wave of negative dimensions for us to question the validity of our obsession with external values, at the expense of our mental, emotional and spiritual well-being. But the wake-up call has sounded. Mankind will have to make radical changes in order to have any assurance of a fulfilling life. When I talk to people, I ask them about the unity of body, soul, and, this is a question of what? Mind or spirit. Yeah. In German we have one word only for the both. It's misleading. This Geist. But this is the English mind. So when I ask people, where is your Geist? They said, here. And that you really believe that body, soul and mind is the important thing to live with? Don't you think it's more spirit? Fortunately, the English people, they have two words. You can say spirit or mind. You may have to your decision. We cannot make our decision. We call it more soul, but soul is a lower level of the totality. It's more well-being to come for us on that track, and not any more wealth. So we have to understand that wealth is going to disappear in the Western world, and we have to bring up what you call as well in your G&H, what I call as well the well-being. What is it? The well-being. It's not a new idea. The well-being, let me quote the 3,000 years old Vedas or Upanishads. Sat Chit Ananda. If I would like to translate that in English, maybe I'm wrong. It's being, conscious being, and bliss. I don't know whether I'm right. Now that's my story. We could say happiness, but I say bliss. Bliss is, I think, more than happiness. It's another level. It's a spiritual level. So my interpretation of Sat Chit Ananda is, you can experience Ananda, the bliss, when you are on a way, like meditation for instance, to be conscious of your being. And then this consciousness will lead you into a unity with your being. And then you get, as a result, not for guaranteed, as a gift, Ananda, bliss. It's much more than happiness. But if you say happiness, you must identify what you mean. And the whole literature and the speeches in Germany now for happiness, it's all based on sources for happiness. They run around like hell the whole day and look for any base, any source after that they are happy. You go on vacation, you're happy, you have a dinner, you're happy, you have a drink, you're happy, and so on. That's not happiness. It deducts you from the way. The golden wind, and I use this as my title for my speeches, as my trademark, comes from a koan out of Zen Buddhism, when a monk asked Zen master Umon, what if the tree withers and the leaves fall? And Umon replied, it's a perfect manifestation of the golden wind. It's a koan. Normally you cannot solve this koan with your mind. It's a koan. My teacher, what is he saying to this koan? It's very interesting. The interpretation of the koan from my today's teacher, he is a Benedict monk and a Zen master. A perfect combination. Williges Jäger is his name. When the concepts and ideas disappear, what remains? The mere essence remains. It's the experience of reality. It is the realization of reality. That is the meaning of life. That's one interpretation. But there's another interpretation. The koan is about age. About a sense, when you are older, the being is also existed in our old age. The essence is also at the age. It always is about the state of being. The third part of your life, especially in Asia, is a life where you grow your inner values more, like, because they are the old monks, they say it's the manifestation of the golden wind. Gold is a symbol for reality. Wind is a symbol for it's always there, like a wind. If you're not open through meditation, you don't feel it, but it's always there. That's the issue of meditation. Go by daily exercise, make yourself transparent for the golden wind. Therefore, I'm talking always about the golden wind and explain it in this way. I was born twice. First, 1942, child, student, chemist, manager, and so on, very successful. And then, second time, in the age of 42, second birth, my spiritual birth, with a great teacher. And after this spiritual birth, I started Zen meditation, and I did my business manager job in a very different way with my own inner transformation. And this is my message. It's not never either or. Either you do business or you are the spiritual way like a monk. No, it must come together. When you work, it must be done like a meditation. But I come to that later. My first teacher said, according to the spirit in your work, and this is very important, but many people believe, and I've talked to people in your country, to the young people, they said, oh, I work and sometimes I meditate. No, the work must be a meditation in each and every moment. Then you feel the spirit of what you do. And that is very different. At the end you earn much more money even if you don't want it. My teacher says, wherever you work, he is telling me that, to me, in our society, and wherever you take over responsibility, the blessing of your work depends on the deepness and the maturation of your own person. It is so important to witness the other world in this world we are currently in. Only the individual can witness the other world. Not a group, not an institution, not a society, only the individual. Therefore we are working here, where he lives, on the individual. We learn to follow a path of focused practices, and when we are then able to give evidence of the kingdom of God, we experience the presence of grace and love. That was for me an initiation for my own way. The golden wind blows everywhere, every time, in each and every moment. We must be transparent for the golden wind, and this is for me the meaning of life. If you ask people, what is for you the meaning of life? They'll tell you a lot of things. For me, this is the meaning of life. To go for a path, a growth, where you are transparent and open for this golden wind, or for the happiness concept, or for bliss, or you may call it emptiness, or Allah, or Yahweh, or Brahman. It's all the same. Or music, or dance. And we have sails to experience the golden wind. But our sails are hanging down on our boats. We can lift up the sails, and then we can experience the golden wind. How is that working? I mean with sails, spaces of experience, where we are in all our daily life. Spaces of experience. It's no need to sit on the mat for meditation. We are in spaces of experience. Then we lift up our sails and we feel the golden wind carrying us through these spaces of experience. What are these spaces? Our job, our work is the most important space. Nature, music, dance, love, religion, encounters, like here, and so on. The daily life, each and every moment. These are spaces of experience. But if we move into a forest, and we leave the forest with the same quality we move in, it's a lost opportunity. If we go into a concert, and we are thinking 15 minutes before the end, how do we get out of the parking lot? It's a waste of time. You don't experience the music. And in my book I go through all these different spaces of experiences and teach the people how to be mindful, aware of each and every moment, and to keep your meditative attention in these spaces of experience. Mindfulness is the first step, like in meditation. But then after this, the next step must follow. There's a lot of literature about mindfulness now. If you are mindful, you solve your problems. But this is only one step, and you know that. The next step is to let the focus go. Let go is the next step in meditation. No thinking, no feeling, nothing. Emptiness. I may call it mindlessness. I don't know whether this word exists. It exists. Mindfulness first, and then mindlessness. And then all of a sudden you may feel the golden wind. That is the message. Recently, when I was at that Cologne meeting, I was talking to younger people than you are, and 20, 25, and I asked myself, what is a message from me with 71, when they could say, oh, well, you can meditate and go with your golden wind, but we are here, graduate students, we want to make a lot of money. And what can I tell them outside my manuscript? And all of a sudden, I think I had a very great idea. I told them, we know from people from near-death experience that they report when they come back that they have seen a light and they feel very happy and they don't want to come back. Obviously, when we die at the end, we are in a sort of enlightenment, obviously. And then I told this story, and I said to the young people, why do you wait until you die? Do it now. Start now. Don't wait until you die, or don't wait until you're 71. Do it now. And I hope that some of them will never forget this message of an older manager. And I said I did it, and I was very successful in business. Do it now. I just talked about the space of experience, the working place. This is very important for me because sustainability is correlated in the jobs, in the business, very much so. Sustainable development is a big issue in your country, in our countries, and so on. And when I wrote my book, I had an interview with a very famous quantum physicist, a scholar from Werner Heisenberg, who invented the quantum theory. And he has talked about sustainability with me. And he told me the following story. This is very interesting. He said, we Germans use always the word sustainable development. And we had the reunification of East and West Germany. They were sitting together in an East German city, Leipzig. And all the experts talked about the idea how to translate that into German. And they found a word from the agriculture, from forest science. They said, it's very easy, one guy said, one professor. Define it like, we cut a tree and we plant a new tree. This is sustainability. And my friend said, oh, that's not enough. If the status quo is already bad, and your sustainability is to keep that status, which is bad, it's not the sustainability. And for him, sustainability means, and it's a wonderful definition, sustainability for Heinz Belliardeur, the very famous philosopher. He has the Peace Nobel Prize, he's a Peace Nobel Prize winner, good friend of mine said, sustainability is to make the living more lively. To make the living more lively. This is a wonderful definition. Independent where you are. If you have in mind, if I meet people in my office, and he had a problem, I have a problem, you think, oh, I try to make his living more lively when he leaves my room. Can you imagine how he's leaving you, how he's empowered to do the job which you want? I call that sustainable personal development. This is a new expression, it's not yet existing in the literature. I have invented that, but it's great. Make the living more lively. Let me come maybe just to one. I thought it's not necessary that I talk to nature. Nature is so important for you. Nature is important for me. Nature is a very important space of experience. The forest, the lakes, the mountains. Let me talk about music. The music comes from the silence. Before music is silence. It disappears in the silence. After the music is silence. Before silence, after silence. Maybe in between of the sections there's silence. So the very famous musician like Menuhin, or the Barenboim, the today's piano player and conductor, says, the most important thing when you hear music and when you're practicing music is to experience the silence. This is spiritual. You know what the silence is? The silence is God. The silence is your emptiness in Buddhism. When you play an instrument and you do it right, and it's not your ego. You do it so long until you are in flow. You give up your ego. All of a sudden, you're in a spirit where you experience silence. And this is the reality behind the music. So when one practices an instrument, you don't practice to play the instrument. You practice and exercise yourself, your own person, with the medium of a piano, to experience the silence. And this is a completely different story. They are perfect musicians, like technocrats. They play what's written there perfectly, but not with the spirit. There are others, few play with spirit. Or in dance, what is emptiness in dancing? It's a standstill. If you move, you can experience the emptiness, and so on. So I go through all these spaces of experience and tell the people, if it's too difficult, day by day, your meditation on the ground, you can do it, but it's not a must. But in each and every moment, you're in a space of experience, and then practice. Being transparent for the realness. It's in religion, it's in meeting people, it's in sport. You know maybe this wonderful book of archery. Archery is number one here in the country. Of Herrigel, about Zen and archery. Where the winner is where the arrow flows without any ego mind, all of a sudden, bang, with a smile in the face. This is the experience of emptiness. You can do that in every sport. Watch the Olympic Games, watch the faces. It's the opposite. Sometimes you meet somebody who has experienced the divine principle in sports. In my book I'm writing about distractions and block. We have a lot of, in our civilization, we have a lot of blockages and in our distractions. Computer games and television and radio and I don't know what, and consumerism and alcohol and drugs and so on. In my speech 2 weeks ago, I had an aquarium on the table to make clear what I mean. And I told the people, these spaces of experience help you as a fish to swim. So I took 10 liters of water in a can, and I was putting that water into the aquarium. I said, this is your aquarium of consciousness. You build it up in your life, your consciousness. Very small. You're a fish, you're pushing at the wall, but the aquarium is in the ocean. You don't know it. So I put all the water in the aquarium and said, nature, dance, love, sports, music and so on. So it was full. The fishes were swimming. And then I said, there's distraction, diversions, and blockages in your life. And I took a tube and I let the water flowing from the aquarium down back in the can. And I said, if you follow all these distractions, all your water, all your life energy, all what you build up through meditation is disappearing. So if your life is focus, and you defocus in your life after, it's gone. They believed me because they could see it. I come to the end. And to some key messages. Ladies and gentlemen, according to my deep experience of the Golden Wind, the growth of everybody's spirituality will extensively trigger the improvements, for instance, in all your 9 domains, in all areas of life, in your 9 domains, is the spirituality, the trigger to improve the performance and the situation in your domains. It's not just equal to that, it's the trigger for improving your domains. Spirituality is a key in the Western and Eastern world. The improvements of the domains which are in your programs will automatically follow, and additional programs to improve your domains and get the index higher would mean that the life of your people will even be better. But the trigger is the spirituality. From my point of view, and this came to my mind in the hotel when I was writing that yesterday, from my point of view, it doesn't make any sense for the industrialized countries to base the amount of finance support for the developing countries only on the GNP, on their GNP of the developing countries. It doesn't make any sense because we are talking cash. What is your GDP? GNP? It should much more be based on the improvement potential, for instance, of your 9 domains. If a sponsor looks into your domains and your index says, oh, well, that's the last census which was made, I want that you put your efforts, maybe our money, into the domain number 4 or so. How is doing that? In health, in education. These are in your domains. So we have the intention not only talk about money transfer to Bhutan, but to put money into the growth of your domains for the benefit of your people who suffer because the domains are not, the potential of the domains are not fully at the level where they should be. I would like that idea. If an industrialist kind of said, where are your domains? How far are you? I want your domains getting up. I like that. I like this idea. This came to me yesterday when I was in the hotel room and was thinking about a closure remark. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pretty sure that with your background, you all understand well what I mean with golden wind management. I understand your G&H concept with my background of the golden wind. We have a joint conviction to develop a better world for people we are responsible for. As we are all connected, we are responsible for everybody. Make the living more lively. I learned from your G&H indexed by age that there is a peak of happiness between 73 and 78. Thank you very much for this message. I'm 71. Thank you for this information. Obviously, Harald and me have wonderful happy years to come. And the happiness level is very similar to the happiness of the children. And now I understand why Jesus Christ said to us, become like a child, become like a child. There's a peak, if you look by age, between 71 and 78. I don't know why, but maybe that's the reason. They are all wise. They develop their spirituality. It's good for us to know the happy years are to come, especially with our connection to your country, and the connection from us to your country is Bhutan. And we love to continue to support all of you. I wish you all many happy years to come, independent how old are you. And if you're 72, it's getting better, I tell you. Maybe you're now in the deep depression by age, a little bit lower than the child's, but from 78, 71 and so it's going to come. I wish you all personally, for your whole wonderful life, that your happiness is growing. Thank you very much for your attention. Namaste.